Ohio State beats Penn State 20-12. Biggest game in college football this weekend. They did it mostly on the back of a pretty great defensive performance. But as we always do, after the game here at cleveland.com, I'm Nathan Baird, along with Stephen Means and Andrew Gillis. We are going to grade Kyle McCord's performance, Ohio State's quarterback. 23 of 35, 286 yards, 1 touchdown pass, no interceptions, though he came darn close. No strip sack that got turned into a 60-yard touchdown going the other way, but he came darn close. So you can factor all those things in, I suppose. Took 1 sack. Stephen, what is your grade for Kyle McCord?
I'm giving him a C. I'll adjust it because Penn State is one of the best defenses in the country. I think James Franklin, he said best teams, but I think these are 2 of the 3 best defenses in the country, and both teams lived up to that billing. So I'll give him a little bit of reprieve for that, but I don't think he played well outside of that. I think he was off on some throws. I was talking to you about this. Marvin Harrison dropped some balls today as well, and obviously he had those drops last week. I think those were on Marvin Harrison last week. He's got to be better, and even he said that. Marvin Harrison Jr. was better today. But watching some of the throws from Kyle McCord, it's like, is his ball always receiver friendly? Because he is ripping it sometimes when he doesn't necessarily need to rip it. And some of this is coming off of C.J. Stroud, who even he said he's a ball placement specialist. And I think we took that for granted with C.J. Stroud at times. Kyle McCord is not that. And so when he's off, it really shows up. And I thought Penn State did some things that maybe rattled him at times. But overall, I just thought he didn't take the next step. I thought against Notre Dame earlier in the year, he took a step, even if the stats didn't necessarily show it. I don't think he took that next step as Ohio State starting quarterback against Penn State.
Andrew, is similarly harsh range?
I've been thinking B- or C+ range. I'm going to say B- because I think Penn State's defense is that good. Like, I think Penn State probably has a top 5 defense in college football. Like that defense that you saw was really good. The reason it's a B-, you got to give him that bump because, hey, look, good for you. But Marvin Harrison Jr. was wide open on a lot of throws, and that's kind of where a lot of those yards came from. But there were other moments where you just kind of like tug at your shirt collar and go, man, got away with one there. Obviously, there's the play where, he took the sack and then it was the scoop and score for Penn State. He was not getting that ball off, and the holding saved him. Like, it wasn't, he double pumped, I know, but he was not going to throw that ball, and he got bailed out there. There was a play, they were kicking a field goal down here to go up by 2 scores, and they threw like an out route, and he threw it high and wide, or high into the inside, I should say. And when you're up by 1 score in a game like this that you have dominated, you can't have that play. There was a play where he, stared Marv down the seam. That could have been picked. There was the play where, look, Cade Stover, shout out Cade Stover, had a great game, had that great catch where he reached over the Penn State defender's helmet, took the ball out, he completely mossed the guy. That's a dangerous throw. You got to throw that ball higher. So B- because I think there were some good things, but the mistakes that you kind of feared and we talked about after the Purdue game, they were there. The mistakes that, that we said, oh man, that could really hurt you if they happened, they were there, and Penn State just didn't make the play, or they did and they got bailed out. So I'll say B-. I didn't think it was bad. I also don't think that I would call Kyle McCord's performance today good. I think it was fine and good enough to win, but those mistakes, he was really flirting with disaster for a couple of those plays there, and that's why it's a B-.
Yeah, I think I'm landing B- as well, because I think you've got to grade this on the curve of the Penn State defense. That this defense, by almost every statistic and every metric coming into this game, was first in the country. So many things. No matter whether you want to talk about surface level things, like yards allowed per play and scoring and things like that, or whether you want to go deeper into it, this defense was supposed to be as good as anything Ohio State was going to see this year, and it looked at times like they were playing the best defense in the country. I thought McCord started something like 5 of 5 today, and then it started to get really sketchy for a long stretch of time. And one of the things that affected that was there came a point in this game where Ohio State couldn't run the ball anymore. They were just hitting a wall every time they handed it off, whether they were trying to go up the middle, whether they were trying to go outside, which many times to me is still inexplicable with some of the guys they're running with, but the running game was not doing them any favors. They did, however, finally capitalize. I think the thing that maybe pushed it to a B- for me was the sequence where they were backed up a little bit. They tried to run it on first down, then they got stuffed for a 3-yard loss. So now it's 2nd and long, and you've got to make a play. They drag Marvin Harrison across the middle. Yes, he was wide open, but you get 28 yards on that play. You get Cade Stover wide open. You get 30 yards on that play. Early in this game, it was getting a little wild on some of McCord's throws, but he made the throws you absolutely had to make to flip the field at a most crucial time of the game. So if I was on the borderline, that's what kind of nudged me into a better grade, I suppose. For talking to him after the game, I think there is satisfaction in the win. I think there is still dissatisfaction. He knows that this wasn't as clean as it will need to be the next time they play a team this good, which I don't think is coming up in Wisconsin this coming week, but I think it's coming up in about a month, right, when they go up to Ann Arbor. He's going to have to play his best game of the season there, but the good news is he's undefeated right now, and he gets to keep building towards his best game of the year and building confidence as he goes. We're going to talk a lot more about that on Buckeye Talk. Get that where you can find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. We were shooting out just a ton of stuff as it was being said after this game. Ohio State 20-12 over Penn State.